less than 24 hours, Georgians will be under a shelter-in-place order.
McDonald, though, said he did not know the man was handcuffed and was trying to use his foot to pin him to the ground so he could be handcuffed.
If your friends, neighbors, or local organizations are not complying, report them to us.
Howdy, y'all, and welcome to the Free Georgia podcast. My name is Jake Green. Thank you so much for joining us today for episode number 38. As always, if you find anything in this episode interesting, informative, entertaining, just basically if it just tickles your fancy, head on over to lpgeorgia.com to learn more about the party, learn more about what we stand for, about what we're doing in the state of Georgia. We're doing things like the Brushfire speaking course, which teaches people how to do public speaking. And clearly I need that more than most. We also have the 2A range day, I believe. Let me see what day it is. I always forget. I think it's 6 days from now. It's July 29th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. in Rome, Georgia, hosted by Osprey Shooting Solutions, Mr. Edgar Mills. We did it last year. It was a fantastic event. Had a lot of people show up, so come out. He's a great teacher, good trainer. He'll tell you the things you need to know and get you going. So without further ado, today we have a guest, Mr. Jared Widener. How you doing? Welcome to the podcast.
Good. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Jared, can you tell people what it is you do in the libertarian world?
Yeah. So I started a social media and website called Libertarians Who Make Art. And it's just a community for creative libertarians.
Nice. And what was it that made you want to start it?
So a couple of years ago, I was really involved with the Libertarian Party of Tennessee, and just sort of understanding more politics and things like that. It was that combined with a background in music business, and kind of trying to just figure out my place within the libertarian sphere, and combining, experience and my passion for the arts and stuff like that with libertarian philosophy. And so I kind of just started a list of people who I knew, claimed to be libertarians who were also doing something creative. And kind of just, started making a list and kind of grew from there.
I love that. Shane Hazel, I followed him for governor. I made a documentary about him. And he always said when people would ask, like, what can we do, to help out with the campaign, or like, what can we do once we get into the Libertarian Party? And he always says, take the skills that you already have and figure out how to implement them into the party. And I think that was always some really good advice. And you clearly did that. So what is it? So you say you come from a musical background.
Yeah.
So how did that happen? Like, I guess the question is, like, where did that start for you, and what kind of musical background do you come from?
So I've always been kind of drawn to music since like an early teenager. At the time, it was mostly Christian punk rock and hardcore bands.
Yep.
So that's kind of what I grew up with. I actually went to a college to study music business. So that was in 2007. So that was kind of a weird time to start college.
No kidding. Yeah.
Right before the recession, and the music industry changed completely with downloading and all that stuff. That was a weird time for music industry.
Yeah, no kidding.
But I've always kind of surrounded myself with those types of people and creative individuals. So that's kind of my background with that.
What are top 3 Christian rock bands that you listened to growing up?
Growing up, probably Under Oath would be one.
Nice. That's a good one. That's a good. I grew up with all this, so this is intriguing to me. Yeah.
I mean, in that same vein, kind of probably like Norma Jean or something like that.
Okay.
Sometimes more the punk rock, MXPX and things like that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
MXPX. Yeah. I definitely leaned more towards the like punk pop kind of stuff.
Okay.
Like Newsboys and DC Talk
Oh
and
yeah.
that kind of Christian stuff. And then later on Reliant K and
Oh,
FM
yeah.
Static and that crew.
Yeah.
That's awesome. At what point, like, very few people are born libertarian, and very few people know about libertarianism until way later in life. So, like, at what point did you know that you leaned towards the libertarian principles?
Yeah. So I think that I've always had kind of a individualist spirit from early on, but I didn't really know how to define that, what to call that. And for a long time, I was very apolitical. I really didn't want anything to do with politics. It was in 2014, me and a couple of friends opened up a coffee shop, just trying to start our own business here in Memphis, and kind of in that process, I started to learn a little bit more about taxes and regulations and things like that with opening a business. And and then I guess in 2015, one of our regular customers at the coffee shop was running for city council. And so he had some of his meetings there, and I got to know him pretty well. And I thought that was really interesting. I was like, maybe I should learn a little bit more about what's going on in our local politics. And by the end of that year, 2015, the presidential debates started happening. And as we all know, the 2016 election was pretty wild. So that's when I kind of started to decide, research a little bit and say, which way do I lean here? And it did not take long for me to realize I was neither Republican or Democrat.
Right.
So I kind of started down those rabbit holes, and pretty quickly discovered the Libertarian Party and kind of the general philosophy, and just out of curiosity, I ended up at the Libertarian Party of Tennessee State Convention in spring of 2016, and so kind of went full in at that point for a while.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's nothing quite like starting a business to get people thinking about libertarian ideals, having to deal with the government with every single little thing you do with your business and all the taxes you got to pay. That'll get you going down this path pretty quickly. If I feel like if everybody started their own business and saw what they had to go through just to start just a coffee shop, what all the amount of hatred they would have for the government after like 2 months of doing that would be enough to change people's minds about things. So that's pretty interesting. But yeah, you went head in, like went to a convention after you started learning about it. That's amazing. And 2016 was a good year for us. We had a good amount of votes.
It was good.
Yeah. I wasn't a libertarian at that point. I was apolitical, didn't give a crap, hated politics, just wanted nothing to do with it. I did crack up laughing when Trump was elected, though. It was one of the funniest moments. That I was sitting alone in my apartment, and I remember just like laughing hysterically that Donald Trump was our president.
Yeah.
Not so funny anymore. Oh man. All right. Well, what I forget, I think you mentioned it earlier. What year did you start Libertarians Who Make Art?
Let's see. Sorry, the air conditioner turned on. I don't know if you can hear that or not.
Oh, no, you're all good.
I started that in 2001, I believe, is when I started the website. So it started out with just like a Facebook group and Instagram account,
Yeah.
just to see if there would be interest in it, and it kind of kept on growing and growing, and I started putting more time into it. Started the website, started interviewing people to make articles for the website. Um, so
Man, I
yeah.
dig it. I like how like clean and like streamlined it is. There's
Thanks.
not a whole bunch of crap you have to like sift through to get to the good stuff.
Yeah.
It's like as soon as you're on the page, you're like, okay, this is exactly what it is. Like there's there's nothing
Tried to
extraneous. Yeah.
keep a minimalist look to it. So.
I love it. I love it. And like, what kind of folks do you feature on the site? Like, is it specific to certain genres of art, or is it all across the spectrum?
Yeah. So the main tagline is music, books, film, and more. So I guess for me, it's kind of easiest to focus on music and books and film.
Right.
But there's so many other forms of art.
Yeah.
There's painters, or there's a guy I interviewed who does like wood burning artwork and stuff like that.
Neat.
Pottery and jewelry and all sorts of different things.
Yeah.
So it's been really fascinating over the past year or two to just discover all these people, libertarians who just make really cool things. And so I don't really have any sort of specifics on what I want to highlight. I think it's cool when libertarians are being creative and out there trying to do something.
I love that. Do most of the folks like what's the ratio of like the libertarians who make art that is actually political art, or libertarians who make art that is just a libertarian making cool stuff?
I don't know. It's probably maybe 50-50.
Okay.
I'm not very specific on looking for people who are making things that are, precisely political. I've seen a few different websites where it is like that, where it's like, this is art that is, about politics or libertarianism and things like that. But I guess with part of my background with the Christian music and everything, in the 90s, the early 2000s, there was that whole debate of like, are you a Christian band or aren't you? You never say anything about Jesus and all this stuff. And
right,
the bands just would respond and be like, we're just Christians in a band,
right.
And so I take that same approach to this, where it doesn't have to be political art.
Right.
It's just libertarians who make art. So I think there is something to that, someone who has a libertarian philosophy out there, like making independent films or something like that, and, getting into the industry and just having that voice and having that impact, I think is good.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think far too often it's a whole bunch of art these days is more propaganda than anything, especially when it comes like, the biggest thing that moves people is movies these days, and like TV shows, and the amount of crap that is out there, and the amount of stuff that once you actually start looking at the themes that they're dealing with, the more often than not, you don't want to watch it. And like, you don't want kids watching it. Like it's just a bunch of stuff that is propaganda that is not good for people. Or it's just mindless nothingness, and it has no redeeming qualities at all. And there's plenty of that to go around. So I really like the idea that there are, libertarians who make political art and political things, like my friend Casey Sable, who I know you featured on your website. Love Casey. That dude's awesome. And then, people, I can't imagine how you would make pottery political, but I'm sure somebody can. But I'm assuming that the pottery maker was their art was less political and more just about the pottery.
Yeah. Well, one I featured just recently makes a bunch of different pottery designs, and one of them she had like the Bitcoin logo on the mug. So that was kind
There we go. Yeah, there it is.
So,
Which I guess technically isn't a political statement. It's more just like, Bitcoin.
yeah.
Like you don't. I mean, I guess in our world, Bitcoin and politics kind of go hand in hand. But
Yeah,
for somebody who just enjoys Bitcoin, that might just be a fun little keepsake for them.
Yeah. Anti-central bank concept there.
There we go. That's awesome. Do you have who are some of your favorite interviews that you've done, or favorite articles that you published, or artists that you've put up there?
Oh gosh. And there's been a lot.
Yeah, your website is extensive. There's first one or two that come to mind.
There's a filmmaker named Vanessa Leonard.
Okay.
And so she's actually won some awards and things for her short film. So that was a pretty cool one.
Nice.
Let me take a quick gander here.
Yeah, go for it. I'll put it back up on the screen for everybody to see.
Meredith Hayes has been kind of involved for a while now, and she does like illustration, and also like writing. So she kind of like creates her own kind of comics.
Nice.
Just does it all on her own, and they're really good. They're interesting.
That's awesome. Yeah, we interviewed on this show Voluntarist.
Yep.
I'm blanking on his name. Jack
Lloyd.
Yes, Jack Lloyd. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, very similar.
Yeah, his stuff's really good, really interesting too.
Yeah, he's a super interesting dude. Thoroughly enjoyed talking to him on this show.
I think in the first actual interview that I did on the website was Matt Miller.
Okay.
He's a painter, and I first kind of discovered him. He was doing like portraits of kind of liberty authors and things like that, like Ayn Rand or different Basquiat or whoever. He was like painting these portraits of them.
Yeah.
And not all of his art is like that. He does other things, more traditional sceneries and things like that. So he's a really interesting person too, and he's doing more of this like live painting stuff where he'll like go to events and within like 20 or 30 minutes he'll just be on stage just painting something and have like this amazing product at the end of it.
People do that?
Yeah.
That is impressive.
Yeah.
He just goes to an event and paints something while he's there.
Yeah.
Is done by the time he leaves.
Yep.
Good Lord. Yeah, that's awesome. That takes some skill. And some that's very bold, and you got to be confident to do something like that.
Yeah.
So being in Tennessee in the music industry, why Memphis and not Nashville?
That goes back to college. I actually moved here from Pennsylvania to go to a college. It's a really small Christian music college here in Memphis, and so that's kind of how I ended up here
Gotcha.
Years ago. And at one point I moved away, but was kind of drawn back to the city. It's an interesting city.
Great barbecue.
Yeah. It's a little bit more rough than Nashville is, but I think that kind of builds a certain character. I think Memphis has this sort of uh, DIY attitude, which I
like
kind of
that.
like.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, maybe a little tougher than Nashville would be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know RFK Jr. was just there talking about that in some regard. I don't remember what he was saying, but yeah, he was warned a whole bunch about going to Memphis, and when he got there, he just walked the streets by himself, and everything was
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Oh, dang, I had a question about that, and now I've lost it. Maybe it'll come back to me. With the website, is it just you curating everything, or are there other people involved with the site?
So far, it's just me. I have reached out to a few different people. I would like there to be more people contributing articles or different things on the website. So yeah, I'm welcome to have more people.
Nice. Where, like, do you want to grow it? Do you want it to become bigger, like more facets than it already is, or do you want it to kind of stay this style and just have more articles and more features on there?
No, I'd definitely love to see it continue to grow. Um, the Facebook group, the group has grown quite a bit.
Nice.
You know, the Instagram followers. I want this to be able to be a way for libertarians to like help share and promote their projects and have like a wider audience to promote them to, and whatever little bit of help I can give, to help them in their careers and be more successful in the art and entertainment industry. And I think obviously, growing and becoming a bigger community is the best way to do that. I'd love to go to different kind of liberty events and conventions and set up a booth and be able to tell people about it and get more people involved. I did that at the recent Libertarian Tennessee State Convention.
Nice.
Set up a booth there. And I believe at the Georgia Convention, a friend of mine who I met online, Danny Dolan, was there and had some flyers and a t-shirt for Libertarians to make art. He's a cool guy.
Oh yeah, Danny's great.
So
yeah, he's got that theater down in Fayetteville.
Yeah,
that place is awesome. We played my movie there actually recently. We played did a screening for folks. It was fantastic. Yeah, he's got a great setup down there. Man, dadgummit, the question came back to me and I lost it again. Why does that happen to me? I don't do too many of these in the morning. It's in the morning where I am. So that's probably has something to do with it.
Yeah.
So you want to grow the website. What can people do to help you with that? Like, do you want random people like emailing you, messaging you on Facebook saying like, I can write articles, like I can do stuff? Like, what's the best way for people to help you grow the website?
Yeah. So just going to the website, checking out some of the articles and things. There's an artist form that people can fill out. That whatever art they make, they can fill out the form and get in contact that way. Also, Facebook group or the Discord channel. We've also got a Patreon for people who want to help continue this. Obviously, there are a few costs involved with maintaining a website, but it's something that I really like to do. So I'd like to keep that going, and as many people as I can find, keep on supporting them.
That's awesome. I love it. I think that about does it, man. I'm happy to know that you're out there. Like I said, I've looked at your website quite a bit over the last little bit. We found a lot of the films that we screened at the Georgia Libertarian Convention. We found because of your website.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Cool.
We screened, I don't know, like 8 short films, and I think like six of them came because of me following your website and looking at folks on there. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for doing this, because, you know, it's said quite a bit that politics is downstream from culture, and there are too many cultural things out there that are very anti-individual and anti-freedom and liberty. And it's super helpful to have somebody like you out there helping to promote libertarians and promote, you know, what some of the things that we do in the art world. So thank you for that. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Absolutely. Can you just shout out some of your, besides libertarianswhomakeart.com, like what are your social media handles?
Yeah, on Instagram, Libertarians Who Make Art. We're on TikTok, Twitter. We've got a Threads now, so you know the whole Twitter Threads debate. We're on both, whatever.
Love it. I have not gotten on Threads yet. I don't think that I will. It's one more social media platform makes me want to hang myself. So
I know it's a lot.
It's a lot. Well, yeah, Jaron, thank you so much. Really appreciate you coming on the show, man.
You're welcome.
Awesome. And y'all, if you found any of this interesting, if you want, go check out his website, libertarianswhomakeart.com. You're going to find a lot of interesting artists, interesting things that they do. It's all really cool stuff. And if you found this podcast entertaining, informative, if you're interested in joining the Libertarian Party or just learning more about what we do, head on over to lpgeorgia.com. If you're not in the state of Georgia, go to, lp.org is the national website. So go over to lp.org to learn more about libertarianism. Make sure to tune in every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, for Liberty Libations, and come back next week for another Free Georgia podcast. Thanks, Jaron. We appreciate it, man.
Thanks.
All right. Later, y'all. Peace.